when we want to define a custom operation, we do it via creation of action. So what are action? In simple words, it is a custom operation that we are going to implement for our business object. So if the action is defined for the behavior of header, that means it belongs to header. If I am defining the action here, that means it belongs to the item entity. So that means that we are going to implement the action within the local class of our um, header entity. But that does not mean that we can only access the data of header. We can also access the data of item because there is a parent to child relationship maintained between the two of them. So how many types of action do we have? First thing is action means custom operations on our business object. How many types of action do we have? We have instance based actions or static action. What is the difference between the two of them? So whenever I need to select a particular record, which is also called as an instance, if I'm selecting and then I'm performing an operation on top of that, that means that action, that custom operation is a instance based action. And if I don't need to select it, if I'm not selecting any record and I'm right away um, clicking on the button, that means it is a static action. So see, I'm not selecting any record. I can click that button. It is enabled for me. So that's a static action. And then this is the basic difference between the two of these. Along with that, we have many different variants. We have something called factory action. So in factory also we have instance or static. Both the options are available. So what does a factory action do? The basic purpose, the factory action is just like our uh, copy constructor in object-oriented programming language. What does a copy constructor do? It copies the existing object and create a new copy out of it. That is all. Right now we are talking about instance. Instance in object-oriented means an object. When we are selecting a row, in if we are clicking a button, right now you are noticing we have 6 records from 1 to 6. I am clicking on copy and now you see a new record got created with number 7. Number 7. And if you notice the billing date and other things, everything is same as what we are going to use. So what we just did, we copied the whole instance and created a new one out of it while generating a new key for that new record. So that's what a factory action do. So right now, which I demonstrated to you is a instance-based factory action. But if I am not selecting any record and I'm just clicking on any button and then it is asking me some details and then it is creating a new record, that means we are talking about a static factory action. Then we have something called internal action. Internal action and a regular action. The basic difference between the two of them is that internal action is never exposed to the UI or the API. So right now we can see this and this. All these three of them are the custom operation, custom actions. And we are able to see that at the UI level. If we open the metadata file also, the web API, there also we will be able to see these three actions. But the internal actions cannot be exposed to the end user. So first is action, a regular action where there is no keyword before that. That means it is a instance-based action by default. And an action can be relate to a function module or a subroutine where we can have importing and exporting parameters. So in the second line, if you are seeing, we have a keyword called parameter. That means we are taking something as an input. And this keyword result tells us that we are also accepting something in return. So it should be able to return something. What it is returning? It is returning self. That means it is returning the instance of this particular business object. And how many record of it? One record. So that was the that is what the syntax is, that I am defining an instance action This is the name of the action. It is going to result something. It is going to result only one record, and that record will be same of same type as my business object. The second line says I am going to implement an action which will be static action. That means I am not going to select any record here to be able to select the that trigger the action. And then this action is going to ask for a parameter. So whenever I am clicking on this action, it will ask me something as an input. So if I click on this action, it is asking me for an input. If only I enter the input, then it will execute the logic which is implemented for this. And it is also going to return something which is also having only one record, the same data type as my business object. And the third one is that it is a copy action which is implemented by the keyword factory, and the name of it is copy billing document. So let's go to the action implementation. As soon as we write this line here, for example, let me do it once. Action, test action, or I don't want to return anything, just want to show you. As soon as we write this line, we get a quick fix available here. If I click on it, it will say that we can add a method of this in the local class of this particular BO. If I double click on it, see the test action method is now available here in my class. If I scroll to the top, this is the test action method that just got created. So I can just go here, activate the behavior definition first, because the class was not able to understand what is test action. Now if I check it, error is gone, I can activate it simply. So this is the method which just got came. So when I select an action and I click on something, for example this button, right now we are demonstrating for this reset billing date. Right now if you notice, the bill date is 23rd of August. If I click it, it became 24th of August. The data got refreshed without me reloading the page or without me clicking the go button. So how it's working? Whenever we define an action, the importing parameter of action is always either the key field of the business object or the parameter that we have defined here in this param. So right now, what is the name of it? Update billing date that we are seeing. This one, line 6. So this is the signature of the action. The importing is keys, which is always an internal table containing the keys. Why it is an internal table? Why? Because we are selecting only single record. So why can't it be a single structure, a work area or a line type? Because this is how the framework is developed. And right now we are working on a OData V2 service. But in OData V2 also, we have the capability that we can select multiple lines together. And also, in case of OData V4, we can only select multiple lines together. We do not have this radio button in OData V4. So keys is an importing parameter. So let's go to the implementation of it now. Here we have written some EML statement where we are saying that we are going to modify something of this business object and this particular entity of it. And we are going to update this particular field called build date, because that's what getting updated here. We are passing the key field that for this particular key we are going to update it. And then just because we want to pass back the same business object, right? We are returning it something, the same BO structure. So we are reading the data from the same BO which we just updated, and the updated record we are passing back to the UI. So that's what the syntax is. Now let's go one by one and understand everything in depth. So what is EML? Entity Manipulation Language. Since yesterday morning till today, I mentioned many times that this is an entity, that is an entity, this particular name is a business object. These are the data models. So I keep on interchangeably using the names entity to each other. So when we perform the EML on a particular business object, what options we have? What are the things that we can do with the EML? First thing is we can create the records for any entity which is part of that business object. Right now we have two entities. We have header, billing document header, and we have billing document item. So we can create the record for that entity. We can update the record. We can read the record. We can delete the record, or we can execute any custom action that we have implemented. So we do have three actions that we have implemented. So with the help of EML, we can also execute those actions. That's completely possible. Now, one by one, let's see how exactly we make those things work. So right now, if you notice the syntax here, it says modify entities of and the name of the business object. This is the business object. Then in local mode. So whenever we are executing an EML statement on a business object, which is being called within the same implementation class. Because if you open this business object, the implementation class is this, right? And within the same implementation class defined for the same business object, I am writing this EML. That is why I need to write in local mode. If I just comment it out, I'll get a warning that when we are calling your own behavior implementation, statement variation in local mode would improve the performance and prevent incomplete results. So it is, in some cases, it is a mandatory um, syntax. In some cases, it is a warning. You might also get an error in your server. Maybe in S4HANA, we get an error directly that it is not allowed without in local mode. Then it's a business object. As I said, the business object contains multiple entities. So we have two entities, header and item. In header, what are the things I can do? I can create the record, delete the record, read the record from it, and update the record. I can also perform all this custom action that I implemented. In item, what I can do? These are the capabilities that we can do with the help of EML. So in item, I can do delete, update, read, everything. So for that, what do we need to do? First, this line, then entity, name of the entity, then what operation are we going to follow here? Right now we are talking about updating the billing date field because the instance is already created. Then from what value are we going to create? So from value, it's a basic ABAP syntax that we are writing down here, nothing related to RAP. Then whatever importing parameters we got in the keys, for each of the record one by one, I am taking the key, I am passing the key here, I am passing the value in the field, the secondary key, field that I am going to update. And then there is something called derived data type, this control. Whatever starts with percentage symbol is a derived data type, which have where we have many things like control, CID, key, param, PID, TKY. We will see all of them one by one, but right now focus on control. Whenever we update any record with the help of EML, if we are specifying that this particular field should get updated with this value, the system date. So we also need to pass in the control structure that we are going to make changes in this field. What is the value? MK on means 0, 1. So we are just passing 0, 1 value here, nothing else in the billing. So these are just constants created by SAP that we can make use of for better readability. And at last, what if this is not getting updated for some reason? Maybe in build date we are trying to pass my name, which is not a date, right? In date field you cannot enter a string, or maybe you are not passing the key field correctly. You are passing something else here. Maybe you did interchange. You are passing the date here, and you are passing the key here. It shouldn't work, right? In that case, how would you know if the record got failed? So we have three structures available in each of the EML statement which we use within our framework within the implementation class. One is called failed, one is called reported, and one is called mapped. So whenever a EML operation fails, the failed structure gets populated with uh, with the key which got failed. Whenever any record gets failed, the reason for which the record got failed gets updated in the reported structure. And whenever a new record gets created, the key value of that new record gets updated in the map parameter. So that is why we have it here. So these are inbuilt structures available for all the EML operation that you can just use without worrying from where they came. So this is how we use the modify, and then for reading we simply write the statement read entities of, again the name of the BO. Then for a particular entity we are writing down which entity we are reading, how many fields are we reading, and this is a select query with where clause, or this is a read statement that we use in our simple ABAP. But here we are not reading a line type, we are reading a whole internal table itself. So we are writing all the keys which we selected, and we get the result here in the internal table. And in the result, as you know, we need to pass the same data type as our um, entity. So we are looping it one by one. We are assigning the transaction key for which the transaction being happening right now. And then in the parameter, we are passing the work area one by one. In our scenario, we are selecting only one record here, and we are clicking on the button and it's updating the record. So it will run only one time. The internal table will contain only one entry. If I expand this param once, you can see how many things are there in the param structure. So in param, we have all the fields available. That's what we are passing via this line type. Along with that, I can choose to pass percent data, key, depends on the requirement that we are trying to accomplish. But in our case, we don't need to do all of those things just to update a single field. So this is how we use EML, and this is how we use action. And this is the place where we are going to spend most of the time in current session. So please ask any question do you have.
So, Sachin,
Uh,
for any action, we would need to implement this EML methods, is it?
Yeah. So in RAP, whenever we want to change the state of any instance, we are
Uh-huh.
making changes in the data. So we don't do it at the table level. We always do it at the business object level. And for manipulating the data of business object, we make use of EML. And this is how the syntax of EML looks like.
So you are using underscore R, right? So we have to do all these actions and EML only on the root object,
Yes,
root
yes,
entity.
yes, yes. Yeah. If you recall, when we created the data model for R, we mentioned that this is the VDM type, this will be
Correct,
having the VDM type transactional.
correct.
That is the reason when we create our behavior definition on top of this, whatever EML we perform, we also perform only on the R view. That's a
Okay,
general practice that we and the even the standard applications follow.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Sachin, I also have a question. This field and report, does it contain some like HTTP codes like 404 or something like that?
No, no.
Uh,
Let me do one thing.
Okay.
Let me debug it and I'll show you what it
Mm-hmm.
contains. Okay. So I'm
Okay,
just double
thanks.
clicking here. A breakpoint has been set. Now I'm going to my screen, and now this April 2 should become August 24. So I'm clicking on this action. The debugger is now hit it, And keys, as I said, keys is the importing parameter, right? So this is what we have in the data. See, there is something called CID reference, which is blank. I'll mention that what is it in a bit. And this is the key field, which we need to use for updating the record. If I just press F5 also, the EML is getting executed, and within the EML, if you notice, I'm using a separate method to fetch the current system date for build date. That is why we are here in the standard application, in the standard class. So I'm just coming out of it. Now F5. Okay, pressing F6. Yeah, now in the field that this the record got filled. So we have two structures. One is for the header, second is for the entity. Both are blank. That means it did not get filled. It got successfully updated. And what does it contain? If I show in the table view, this is the field um, structure containing a table, okay, which contains CID, the key field, then something called fail in case the record gets failed. Which operation got failed? It will get updated here. It's a boolean value 0100 will be there. Then whether any custom action got failed or not, whether it was because of any association which got failed, everything will get updated here. If I open
Okay.
the reported now, in the reported also we have three things, and you can see here it says structure. The structure contains two tables. So let's check this one. So here, as I told you, the reported is the one which contains the messages. So here we have something called message, which holds the message.
Okay.
Not just that, we have more things here. Which particular element got failed because of which the message is coming. It will hold here. What was the state? State area is something also that you can explore later on, but there are things which get populated whenever the record gets failed or updated. And that's also something I'll show you after some time, that how does it work. We have
So then
separate.
this we get this reported thing in front end. Do we get it?
Yes, yes, absolutely. No,
Okay.
not
Mm-hmm.
directly, but yeah, if we are using a standard operation like this action, and what do we want? That just in case the reported got failed, I want to throw an error message. We have examples of that I'll show you after
Okay.
some time. How do we
All
throw the
right.
error
Okay.
messages?
Okay.
So
Thanks, sir.
yeah, so the record did not get failed, and this we have updated the entity. Right now I am reading the entity. So let's read it and see what is the value now. So if you notice the build date, it's today's date. But and in the result also, if I execute it, now let's check the value in the result structure in the table. We have all this data which we just updated the build date. But now the whole method is completed. I'll go to my application, the project explorer, dictionary, the database table. I'm gonna execute the database table. And which particular record we are discussing? Number 2. So I'll sort it out. Number 2, the build date is 2nd of April. Right now I am in debugging mode. So far the execution is not completed. So how does it work? In RAP, RAP follows a separate logical unit of work where we have two different uh, phases. One is called transaction phase or interaction phase. Second is called save sequence phase. So right now what we have noticed here, the thing that we are witnessing at the moment, is part of the transactional phase. The transaction is being happening at the moment. That is why the data is not committed to the database table. As soon as I click on F8, Now the debugging is completed, terminated. If I go to the screen, it is updated. And if I go here, this second record, if I refresh it, it got updated to today's state. So what happened? The transaction got completed. The LUW moved from transactional phase to the save sequence phase, and internal commit happened by RAP framework, which I did not need to worry because I am right now following manage implementation scenario. So in manage implementation, I don't care about how the save sequence is working. I don't care how the rollback or commit is going to happen for the database level, at the database level. I only worry about the transaction phase in case of manage scenario. So that's also something a difference between manage and unmanaged scenario.
Sachin, you explained about those derived variables, control,
Yes.
those things. Is it
Yeah.
like for update we use this mandatory control derived one?
Yeah. So for update, it's always recommended that we always pass in the control structure the name of the field for which we are making changes. So we just write down here 01 like that, or ABAP true. Everything works out. But in RAP, they created many constants that we use for better readability. So how many do we have? We have auth for authorization. We have FC for feature control. We have MK for making things enable or disable. We have OP also for telling what operation are we performing right now. So like that, we have many constants that we use. So control is used only in case of update when we are telling the framework that this is the field that I am making changes to. And whenever I am making changes on a particular field, if I press Control space here, I have something called key. So I can comment it out in the key also. I can pass like this. Uh, key bill ID, key bill ID. Like this also I can do, or like this also I can do. The compatibility is not guaranteed. Okay, because of this. So now if I activate, and I hope that it should work, I am going back. I'll remove the debugger. We can directly notice the difference. Third record I am selecting, resetting the billing. It got updated. See, so we have many ways to pass things in case of EML that we need to explore. But one way is directly hard coding that which particular key we are talking about. Second way is making it generalized to say that whatever key we are getting in the importing parameter, I am passing the key directly in the key derived data type so that the framework can automatically understand. And in future also, if someone changing the key, which ideally should not happen, then also I don't need to make changes in this code. It will work just the way it was working before. So that is what the key does. Whenever we are doing any changes in the right now what we are doing, we are passing the key that for this key I am making the changes. Now let's see. We have another thing called transaction key. What do we have in the transaction key? A transaction key contains multiple things. One is the key again. Second is the particularly key fields which are part of that. Third one is the P key. That means the preliminary key. And I'll tell you what is P key after some time. But here also we can write something like this: key and then key. Do we have transaction key? Okay, we have transaction key also here. So I can directly pass transaction key, activate it. Since we are making changes in the O data level, we don't need to refresh the screen again and again. I can just check it and it is working fine. So just now I demonstrated 3 different ways of updating a record with the help of EML. So Do you understand the difference between T key, and control?
Can you repeat Sachin once again? Yes.
Yeah. So control is the derived data type which we use for updating whenever we are making changes in our BO and whenever we are specifying a non-key field which we are going to update. So in the control structure we pass that particular field, and here we only pass 01 or 00. 01 that telling that this particular record, this particular field we are going to update as part of this EML operation. That's what control is used for, to tell the framework that this particular field we are making changes to. Then
That means for non-key fields.
only for non-key fields,
Okay.
no other fields. This is one way. Second is that in the update itself, right now what we are doing, we are saying from value. We have more syntaxes of update available. We can here specify, if I press control space, see we have update fields. So here itself, I can write down like build date, and then I press control here, and then with, and then I can remove this value. This is also syntax. In that case, I don't need to pass this anymore. Sorry. Now what I am doing, I am not passing control, but I specified already to the framework that this is the build that I am going to update. So now, if I am updating this record, it is working again. Yeah. Do you still have any questions?
Hi, Sachin.
Hi.
Priyaranjan here. Actually, I got fever, so I went to doctor. I joined late. So could
Okay.
you please summarize whatever thought today?
Yeah.
I joined 40 minutes late.
Okay. So we were just discussing about actions that we created here, which is a custom operation which are part of the business object. And these are the syntax that we discussed. That if we are simply creating an instance action, that means an action which can only work when we are selecting a particular record. That's called an instance action. If we are talking about an action which can work without clicking on any record, for example, this one, which is a static action, so that becomes a static action. An action which uh, help us to copy the instance or create a new record of create a new instance is called as a factory action, and an action which copies the existing instance but only after selecting a particular record is called a instance factory action. Now we defined actions, we implemented actions, but is that all? Do we need to do anything else for finally using the actions here in the application? So yes, in total there are 4 things that we need to do. First thing is defining the action, second is implementing the action, third is, where is it, projecting the action in the behavior projection by writing use action followed by that. If you don't do it, the action will not appear in the UI. And fourth is, if you notice here, the name of action is copy billing document, but here we see only copy. Its name is reset billing date, but it is update billing date here. So where are we writing down the labels for the buttons? So that is being done in the metadata extension here. So this is the syntax that if you want to show the actions at line item level, you put the syntax here at the line item. If you want to do it at the here, activate. Right now, if you notice, if I go to the object page, there is no button, and I did not refresh it. I told you whenever we are changing the metadata, we need to refresh the web page. So see, now the button came in the object page as well because we added it here in the object page just now. So this is how in total we have 4 different steps for actions. First is define actions in behavior definition. Second is implement action in implementation class. Third is exposing action in behavior projection. And fourth is exposing action in metadata extension. So these are the 4 things that we need to do as part of action.